Today I'm going to be looking at chapter 9 of Mark, and we're just continuing our series, Who is this Jesus? And today I want to look at a couple of things from the beginning of the chapter. Now what we have is a unique event that unveils for us exactly who this Jesus is. And this event, theologians call, they've got a word for it, they've got words for everything, is the Transfiguration. And in that, the disciples see Jesus visibly changed. He looks totally different. His clothes are white and he's glowing. And he's talking to two people. And those two people get identified as Elijah and Moses. And they're talking together, but we don't know what about. We're not let in on that secret. So we don't know what they're talking about. But what I want to do is point out two things from this event. And the first thing is Peter's reaction. Peter's reaction to the event. He wants to build tents for each of them. He wants to set up these tents and just continue everything that's going on. And there's an important lesson that we as believers, as new believers, as believers who are long in the tooth can learn from this. When we realise something good about Jesus, or we've got an encounter, many people camp their lives out around that one thing. They think, well, I've got it all now, understand it all, it's all fine, seen everything I want to see, and they stick there and they stop growing, and they carry on celebrating that one event or celebrating what happened and never move on and never continue growing. They think they know all they need to know. I remember, this is years ago, someone in our church at that time came to me and said, well, I don't need to go study the Bible anymore. I don't need to hear any more sermons. I know it all. I just need encounters and experience, and I don't need the word anymore. And that's a really sad approach, because we always need the word. The word's just full of so many things that will help you grow, and you can't exhaust the stuff that's in there. You can't exhaust the revelation that God's got in there for you. And you aren't meant to stop growing. You aren't meant to stop changing. You aren't meant to stop learning. And we learn the lesson from this, that Jesus wants to move on to new lessons and new teaching as he trains us to be more and more like him. Jesus said something really important. He didn't say, know about me, hear about me, learn about me, pass the exam about me. He said, follow me. Follow me. And that's really important. Now, the second thing I want you to learn from this today is, remember in the early session I talked about the Old and New Covenants. Here we see the old law and the prophets represented by Moses and Elijah. And God the Father speaks something, and he points out Jesus, saying the disciples should listen to him. What's that all about? What's that all about? Well, God's telling them that the way to see what he's like and to understand his purposes and character is to see things through looking at Jesus and listening to what he says. Jesus almost immediately after that identification talks about his death and resurrection. You see, the people who just read the old stuff in what we call the Old Testament, they were expecting this Messiah to come, but they were expecting like a warrior king who was going to remove Rome by force and overthrow it and make Israel the centre of the world and all that sort of stuff. And Jesus starts talking about his death and resurrection because he's saying, I am the Messiah, but I haven't come to do that. I've come in order to fulfill my mission, which is to die for people's sins and rise again to new life to give them new life. And these disciples who were expecting him to set up his kingdom must have found that as a real shock, because that just blew their theology apart. And when he did that, he made it possible through his death and resurrection for anyone who believes in him and will follow him to carry out the mission of his kingdom. He multiplied himself right across the world in the lives of those who follow him. And that's just so good and so exciting. So you're called to follow him and to take part in this amazing mission that he has for you. I'll be back tomorrow. Before then, read chapter 9 again, and I'll see you then.